It differs from area to area, city to city, to province as well. However, we must indicate that yes, we are also beginning to notice a trend that tends to suggest that, people tend to take for granted, the issue of what we call vulnerability, the vulnerable road users being pedestrians, cyclists, motorcyclists, and of course even passengers. Many people tend to forget that, passengers too, particularly those who are sort of held to ransom by unscrupulous operators and drivers, are also vulnerable road users. And of course, passengers in buses as well.
But perhaps it's because the campaigns mostly target motorists here, Gary. What are your thoughts on the so-called vulnerable road users?
It's a very, very big issue, and it's been historically one of those that have been with us ever since the first car was invented. The conflict on our roads is bad enough between larger and smaller vehicles, differing speeds, etc. But our vulnerable road user, and I think here we have to just define that, being basically your pedestrian, your chap anyone on two wheels, and then I think I'm going to include the passenger, especially the young children, in vehicles that are not buckled up. There are massive issues, and if we have a look at the crash data, it certainly would suggest that we're not doing enough, first of all, to actually address those problems. And they have there's massive problems with trying to deal with that through our first line of defense, which is law enforcement. But secondly, we've tried over the years to educate people, specifically pedestrians, cyclists, motorcyclists, and yet we still have very similar trends when it comes to fatalities on our roads. These are the sectors of our road user population that are so at risk, and yet the behavior change has not really been that evident.
I wonder whether, Alida, it means perhaps the ineffectiveness of some of the campaigns, the interventions that we have.
You know what, Kulani? I've done a little bit of research, and in 1981, World AIDS Day was started, when they said that between 81 and 2007, 25 million people died from the virus. Then they said it was the most destructive pandemic in history. In 1993, the World Remembrance Day for road crash victims was started by Road Peace. In 2005, the UN decided to make the World Remembrance Day for road crash victims the third Sunday in November. So now if we go back to this, we just celebrated, or we just had the World AIDS Day. The 18th of November, we had World Remembrance Day for road crash victims. Nothing was said. Nobody knew about it. Nothing was said. So if we can get, these campaigns, but we are not doing enough campaigns for road safety. We're not doing enough education. If you go out anywhere, you'll find brochures and everything on HIV/AIDS, on violence against women and children. But do you find anything on road safety? We had Danny Cat as a child. I had Danny Cat teaching me how to cross the road in the school. Danny Cat has disappeared. Road safety in schools have disappeared. And that's where our most vulnerable people are, is those little ones in school. Parents are so busy that they don't take the responsibility. They place the responsibility on our schools. But I don't think we have enough political will to change things in our country.
And it's probably, and I respond to this, Ashraf, if you may, it's probably because politicians don't take this serious, or am I wrong?
No, we certainly are wrong there, Tolani. We must indicate that the minister, the deputy minister, as well as the portfolio committee on transport, road safety is really very close to their hearts. The shareholders committee, which comprises of the 11 MECs from the 9 provinces, it's definitely part and parcel of their strategic vision.
But Ashraf, the truth is, if you listen to what Alida is saying, just 2 examples of the celebration or commemoration of World Remembrance Day, we didn't hear much about it, but also the issue of teaching youngsters at school how to cross the road and so on. I mean, really, we're not hearing much of that either. So that's why then Alida and perhaps a lot will concur that there is a lack of political will in that direction?
Kolani, I can certainly indicate that, all 9 provinces had observed the World Remembrance Day. All 9 provinces are in the process of launching their festive season campaign. Some of them are rolling it out as we speak in the next couple of days. And of course, there is a problem with, making sure that our stories get printed in the media. Road safety is not sexy, it's not glamorous. People only clamor for road safety information when it's during festive and Easter, not realizing that we lose between 35 and 40 people daily. As you know, we're going towards holiday season, Parliament's closed, there'll be very little happening in the business world. So that's when we get, of course, much needed publicity. But we needed publicity throughout the year, which is why, people like Alida and the rest of the folk out there don't get to hearing these messages. Road safety education is part and parcel of our child learner groups in the different grades that's incorporated as part of their curriculum as well. What we are moving towards is trying to get it as part of a compulsory road safety examination subject.
Gary, do you think that also cyclists and pedestrians have absolutely no idea where they are supposed to be when it comes to road safety?
No. You know what the issue here is, that we don't really have sufficient facilities for cyclists and pedestrians that separate them from cars. And as such, they are entitled to use the road. But the bigger issue, is to try and avoid the conflict between cars and the vulnerable road users. Simply put, if you happen to knock over a cyclist or a motorcyclist or a pedestrian, the chances of them surviving a collision is actually relatively very, very, very low. So yes, we do want. The whole idea is to avoid the conflict, but quite often they have nowhere else to actually walk or cycle, other than on the road. Now, if it means in the yellow line, within that sort of space on the hard shoulder, well, that area is generally reserved for emergencies anyway. And as vehicle drivers, you have no right to actually be in that lane in any case.